affect
I don't
you?
actually have a view on theism.
Okay.
I know plenty of theists who are okay people, even here on YouTube. You know, I don't look at people and categorize them like that. You know, he's a theist, therefore he's an idiot. I do have a problem though with ignorant people and with bigots. This is my main problem. And with people who are so into this, spreading your genes thing, that they have like 3, 4, 5, 7 kids because they think it's God's will. I have a big problem with that. But otherwise, I don't care about anyone's personal beliefs.
All right. Speaking about ignorance, how much ignorance do you see revolving around the idea and concept of drugs, the drug issue? Why is there so much
a lot
taboo around drugs? Can you give us your position on the whole drug situation?
Yeah, exactly. This is it. It's ignorance, or people are not informed and they don't think about it that much. They hear drugs and think of zombie apocalypse. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, look at Portugal. They legalized those drugs. Actually, they decriminalized them.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that word. In like 2000 or 2001, and they don't go to jail, for drug-related crimes. They have the therapy, alternative, or they are just left alone.
Yeah.
And if you look at the results, the actual number of consumers has dropped. The number of people who died from HIV because of needles dropped dramatically. Of course you don't have drug-related crimes, so this is financially is beneficial because you don't have to support all those people who are in jail because of drug-related crimes. You don't have to pay for them, so that's all down. And the number of people who seek therapy because of they're addicted actually doubled in Portugal 5 years after they legalized them.
Yeah, I think that's an important step that any nation which hasn't really fully embraced this step, which is to consider drug abuse a medical problem, a health problem, to be treated like any other physiological problem, rather than a criminal issue. So these people should be in rehab or in counseling or in therapy, if you're addicted to heroin or cocaine or crack.
Yeah, and if you think about it, for instance, here, I'm not gonna give like prices because maybe there are some people here who don't know how to, get cocaine, because we do have some very cheap form of cocaine, which is called roca, and it's a processed cocaine, but it is just as addictive, and just as damaging, and you get it really, really cheap. And you will not be able to do that. If all drugs would be legal, you will have to have the age of consent to get them. Just like with alcohol and cigarettes, so they will not be available to minors like they are now. You will not have a black market for them.
Exactly.
And it's not, let's say, that you're a young person and you want to try something and you go and buy it, and you buy it a second time and you become addicted because, cocaine is highly addictive. But if it is regulated, then taxed, maybe you think about it, well, I better buy a pair of jeans, than spend all those money on it.
Right. So it not only does it regulate it in that sense that you would have to be of legal age to purchase it, but it also gets rid of the violence involved in the black market drug trade, because
these things are gangs.
Yeah, these substances being illegal, it makes the black market price skyrocket. And so the people buying and selling them are willing to kill each other over
the price, over the profit,
over the money.
So good.
So I mean, there's every reason in the world to completely reconsider this war on drugs. And I think even this word drug is problematic. Maybe it applies to these very addictive substances like cocaine and heroin. It seems difficult to find any sort of, unless you're in the hospital and need to get rid of some serious pain, I don't see the medicinal application of, cocaine, say, or even.
Yeah, and you see the results. I mean, like I said, with Portugal, before decriminalizing drugs, they were the worst in Europe, or among the worst in Europe, among the last 3 countries, with drug-related problems, all the problems that come from drugs, and now they stand better than the United States.
Right.
And it's obviously an improvement.
But I think there's a whole other class of substances, like cannabis or marijuana, LSD, psilocybin, MDMA. These are, psychedelic, you could say, and not addictive. And I think they have spiritual importance. And humanity has always been using plants to alter their consciousness and put them in touch with, the divine, or an altered state that is somehow, for whatever reason, life-changing. It changes people's perspectives and ways of thinking about themselves and others. And it's only very recently, like within the last century, that all of a sudden all these governments have decided that these ancient plant medicines should be declared illegal. And I think it's an integral part of being human, using some of these substances, and it always has been.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give my opinion on that just because I know many people watch me, and I don't want to be responsible for anything,
Yeah.
But I will just stick with the practical part. I'm not gonna go and say that marijuana is good for you. I'm just gonna leave it to that. I'm not gonna give my opinion on that. But on the other hand, like I said, in the first time we recorded, we have alcohol and cigarettes who are legal. Cigarettes kill a lot of people, pot doesn't kill anybody. You have a lot of domestic violence and violence in general related to alcohol. You have basically no violence related to pot. I have never heard about anybody, having a car accident because of pot, or getting in, it's just insane to be legal in those circumstances.
Yeah.
Right.
Criss, I want to get away from these topics for a second, get back to you because you're our guest here.
Well, just one point I wanted to make about the decriminalizing drugs. I think all drugs should be legal, but I think that should be some, reglementation to some of them. You could not just go and buy all of them. For instance, with PCP, that drug should not exist. That drug should have never been invented, but it is. If you want to go do PCP, you should do it, under supervision, because you end up cutting your face and eating your child's eyes. That happened really under PCP.
Is that a common thing for PCP, or is that just one extreme?
It is the violence associated with it, and especially the self-mutilation and the physical damage inflicted on others is very high with PCP. Everybody could Google it. It's a special drug, and that should be only consumed under supervision. I think there should be some reglementation to it. You could not go and buy it and do all those things.
No, I think you're right about that. It sounds like you're describing there's a spectrum here, and we need to respect the different effects that these drugs might have on the individuals that take them. So maybe we need to document, store data on behavior over large groups, and I'm sure that's going on now. But is there enough? Should we just? Yeah, we talked about it should be more of a treated as a mental, not mental, but health issue.
Yeah. The point is, the drug addict needs to be rehabilitated, not deemed a criminal and locked away in prison. I don't think that's not very humanitarian. That's kind of.
With the drugs, I was talking with someone who got out of prison not too long ago over the internet. Was a friend of your friend actually, Facts vs. Religion, and he said the drugs in there were just as easy, if not easier, to get. So the black market is just as strong in prison systems. Once the system has put them in jail for using drugs, trafficking or whatever, it becomes much more easier for them to stay within that drug,
atmosphere.
Yeah, that atmosphere that is supposedly so bad, right? And first of all, I don't agree with that. There's a big taboo around it, but the logic is just backwards.
Yeah, the more people you put in jail, the more criminals you're training. right? So if you're putting non-violent drug offenders who were using, not hurting anybody else, you put them in jail, and all of a sudden you're training them to be criminals.